the UK and Spain inch closer to a deal on Gibraltar. I'm going to read into this more from the Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the Times with the headline of the UK and Spain are inching closer to a deal on Gibraltar. The two countries are understood to have made progress during negotiations regarding the territory's future. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So Brexit continues to be a hampering, and not just obviously here in the UK but also in the relationship has soured relationship, shall we say, between the UK and Spain because of it. And this negotiation has been going on for quite some time between the two. And while it says they're an inch closer, just because of a source that the Times has, doesn't always mean it's guaranteed as well. Obviously, Gibraltar, and for those who know the history, they are obviously being part of the British Empire and whatnot. A part of me does feel like, you know, is the people of Gibraltar, are they seriously content with happy with being in the situation that they are in? Are they happy with this? I mean, did they really wanted this? Did they really wanted this whole Brexit shenanigans? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. Now, the controls as well on the border between Spain and Gibraltar is quite soft. It's not too much. It's not too much heavy of traffic going in and out of it. But obviously there is a cause for concern because obviously Gibraltar is understood to still be having different policies obviously to the UK and still, but and it's still technically part of the Schengen as well. So there's a lot of complexities with this as well. Trying to iron out what could be a deal that's favourable to both Spain and Gibraltar. But because of Brexit, also other issues have been highlighted, which we're going to read into as well. So let's dive into this. So Britain and Spain are on the brink of signing a crucial agreement over the future of Gibraltar, according to sources close to negotiations. Talks stalled last year after Spain insisted that the UK surrender control over Gibraltar's airport, which is situated on the site of an RAF base. However, post-Brexit negotiations were revived in December, and last week Lord Cameron and Norton, the Foreign Secretary, met José Manuel Albares, the Spanish Foreign Minister. The two sides are understood to have made progress towards overcoming the UK's objections to a Spanish proposal for Madrid to control the airport in the British territories. Now, my first thought when I heard about this was, okay, so this is obviously to making sure that if Britons fly to Gibraltar, that they are checking their passports and checking all their documents and whatnot, so that obviously, because it's quite easy to go from Gibraltar into the rest of the EU, they don't want to have too much friction on that border between Gibraltar and Spain. So the understanding is my first thought on this is that the Spanish government clearly does not trust the British government to ensure these checks. And to be honest, who can blame them for thinking that? Because quite clearly, when you've seen about how Britain has kind of managed its own checks, its own control of its own borders since we left the EU, don't blame them for thinking like that. So that's probably one of the reasons why I think Spain are keen on it. But there is actually more to this as we go along as well. The two sides are understood to have made progress towards overcoming the UK's objections for a proposal for Madrid to control the airport in the British territory. Sources in Brussels said that the negotiations were at a tipping point and that those involved hoped in a deal over the next 7 days. The two sides had agreed that they are optimistic about a solution to the issue. A Gibraltar government source, however, Whitehall sources said, Whitehall sources in the UK have played down the prospects of an imminent deal. So someone in one place is saying something else to what the other, to what the Times are being told here. Progress on the deal is expected to be fleshed out in a further meeting between Cameron and Albares this week, and it's not yet clear what the deal means for the future of Gibraltar's airport and its status as an RAF base. Maros Sefcovic, the European Commission Vice President leading the Gibraltar negotiations, said last week, "We are entering into a sensitive phase of the negotiations." Before the most recent round of negotiations, Albares had insisted that Madrid proposed control of the airport was essential to the agreement. Again, I generally think this is down to Britain's incompetence of controlling it themselves, but there's more to it than that. So Spain is particularly sensitive about the sovereignty of the airport, which it claims which it claims Britain seized illegally when Madrid allowed it to build a hospital in the infamous during the yellow fever outbreak in 1815. He tied the proposals to the possibility of the airport being used in future by flights from Spain and the EU. British officials have ruled this out, saying it breached the basis of the talks, arguing that the negotiations, which are worn on since 2020, were embarked upon by both sides with the understanding that matters of sovereignty would not be discussed. A senior British official declined to comment on the details of the agreement, adding, "If a deal is imminent, I can assure you that there would not be a deal if it wasn't in the best interest of Gibraltar." But is it in the best interest of Gibraltar? The deal has already met opposition from conservative hardliners such as Sir William Cash, chairman of the European Scrutiny Committee. Last month, he raised concerns that an agreement would endanger British sovereignty of Gibraltar. "I was disturbed to hear that would have been agreed in principle between the UK and the EU with regard to Gibraltar, which would include EU Schengen border checks being performed in Gibraltar. Gibraltar aligning with EU rules to ensure the so-called level playing field, they say, a joint UK-Spanish management of Gibraltar's airport and therefore defensive issues," he said. This is the thing that I just, if I'm absolutely honest, Gibraltar can't be, has to be on the same level with the European Union. It's not worth the headache for Gibraltar. It's not worth the headache for Spain, and it's certainly not worth the headache for the UK, given the damages that has already been caused by Brexit. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth the damage. I would say that perhaps joint management of Spain-UK management of Gibraltar's airport, if the agreement can be hashed out, maybe what they could do, they could have instead of the airport. I'm not like, a part of me's feeling like, well, they could have, or obviously Spanish people managing it as well, and I don't see why not. If there's an agreement with both sides, but Spain want outright sovereignty of the airport, which the UK will not do. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about I'm not 100% sure what the best solution is there, because I can understand, and it's not. I can understand because it's an RAF base as well. The people were going to point out in the comments. Yes, I'm aware of that. I can understand why Britain would not want to give it up, but I can also understand why Spain would want it as well. There needs to be a joint agreement from both countries on it, which is what they're negotiating. But maybe there needs to be some kind of a document of guarantee from Britain to Spain to ensure that certain things that they need guaranteed are guaranteed. He added, "If so, what the government needs has agreed crosses its own negotiation reg line set out to my committee in 2021. It risks setting the day for precedent for the UK's overseas territories and crown dependencies, allowing a foreign power to set the rules of our engagement and diminishing the constitutional entrust role in which the UK plays." In December, Albares repeated a threat to the UK that if it did not cease to its demands over the airport, saying it was up to the United Kingdom to decide whether it wants this or a simple application of European legislation, referring to leave Gibraltar isolated outside of the Schengen zone. Yeah, I think that would not be in the best interest of the people of Gibraltar, putting it outside the Schengen zone. Fabian Paurico, Gibraltar's chief minister, who has played a key role in the negotiations, has said that an agreement can create prosperity for Gibraltar and the Spanish area around us. "We are committed to delivering a great agreement, but in a way that requires neither Spain nor Gibraltar to compromise on fundamentals." Spanish officials have claimed that the UK was quibbling over small details of the deal, referring to its objection over Madrid's attempts to control the airport, describing the British attitude as penny-wise and pound-foolish. If those kind of they are behind the closed-door comments if they've made, but considering how our deal was hashed out with other negotiations, I don't blame Spanish officials for making such comments. Spain, however, is expected to sell the deal to its citizens as a watering down of British sovereignty that has strengthened its claim over the territory in the long term, as well as improving the economic prospects of impoverished areas on the Spanish side of Gibraltar's border. Conservative Spanish governments have attempted to negotiate with Britain to secure joint sovereignty of the territory. The issue is even more sensitive as Gibraltar's status as a strategic military base is once again in focus. Since Brexit, Spain has allowed a relatively fluid movement of people across the land border. Freedom of movement is essential to Gibraltar because of the territory, which has a population of about 32,000, is dependent on about 15,000 workers crossing the border every day from Spain. For example, providing half of the health service staff, they also work in Gibraltar, crucial online gaming and insurance businesses, as well as tourism. So all these things play a factor into it. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than people will make out in the comments below, and I will appreciate that. But I also think this is one that's not going to be. It's entirely possible that the Times could be right on this. They've been right on a few things recently, actually. So it's entirely possible that they may actually clinch a deal with something that would be in that would be a joint cooperation of some sort when it comes to the airport. In order to give that Spain assurances of what exactly in those specific details that Spain wants. Yes, I know they want sovereignty, but Britain are not going to give that. At the time of this recording, the time of the recording, they're not giving that. But it's entirely possible that the UK may bend to the will of the Spanish government to do that as well. Possible. Not saying it will. It's possible. But it is certainly one that I haven't really commented on in the relationship between Gibraltar, Spain, and the UK since we've left the European Union. Never really taken that into account. But it is an interesting story to say the least, guys. So what do you guys think? What do you guys make of the situation between the UK, Spain, Gibraltar? What do you make of the circumstances surrounding its airport? And what do you make about the Gibraltar being in or perhaps being outside the Schengen area? Let me know your thoughts and more in the comments section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me in the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble for exclusive content there as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.